Hello, good Wednesday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we're tracking storms across the Midwest for tomorrow, for Thursday. That is going to be your big story today. We've got an all-hazard system moving our way, and we'll talk about exactly what you're expecting, timeline of this storm system, and exactly where we're expecting storms as well here in just a few minutes. That's going to be the big story today. I wish we had more time to talk about the fires that are burning out in the western side of Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, Colorado, but we're going to do more of that on social media later on today. We're really going to focus on the weather here. We've got wet weekend weather coming for the south. Some really good rainfall totals coming for places like Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, just to the east of where we're seeing all those dry conditions today. And we're going to talk about those tornado and hail risks for Thursday as well. Over the last 48 hours, we haven't seen a ton here. We have seen a few hail reports across the northernmost sides of the U.S. and across northern California. However, those hail reports have remained smaller than the size of a quarter, so nothing to talk about too much there. I did want to note it because you're going to see it pop up on the map as well. All right, moving on, let's talk about what we see across the U.S. right now. We have a cold front moving across the Midwest all the way down to Arkansas at the moment. That's going to bring a few light showers to places like northern Arkansas, southern Missouri, and even into Kentucky and Tennessee this afternoon. We've got a ton of snow from this low pressure system right here. Now this is definitely going to be your weather maker for today. This is going to bring that snowstorm that we've seen ongoing over the last 24 hours for the northernmost side of the plains. But we've got another low pressure system coming down, and that's going to produce the severe weather for tomorrow. So we've got anywhere from snow to a wintry mix to some cold rain across places like Pennsylvania and New York right now. Some light showers in Tennessee, not too bad there. And then we've got some activity on the West Coast. Other than that, it looks pretty nice today with temperatures in the 60s, 68 in Oklahoma City, 63 in KC, 72 in Dallas. But what you can see here is that these warm temperatures, they stop at some point, right? We go into those colder temperatures below freezing in Minneapolis. And where we see that transition, that's where we're starting to see some boundaries form that are a little bit more significant, and that's going to be what will help to cause or form our storms for tomorrow. It's a very colorful map today. Your current alerts show anything from winter weather to fire weather right now. Still some strong winds across the southern plains and Four Corners. You can see those red flag warnings indicating that almost all of Oklahoma is included in that fire risk for today. Unfortunately, we saw some devastating fires yesterday, and we are in a very similar risk for fire weather today as well. Iowa also in that fire weather. We've got that red flag warning highlighted in hot pink. And then those other pinks are going to be your winter storm alerts. You've got some purples on the board for winter storm alerts as well. I'm not going to spend too much time on winter weather because you guys want to see that storm system, right? There's your winter storm. There's that severe storm system that is going to be moving over the next few hours from the upper West Coast, all the way through the plains, through Kansas, and then into the Midwest as we head into the early hours on Thursday. A fast-moving system here, so your timeline for hail, your window for tornadoes, is going to be pretty short tomorrow. We'll talk about exactly when that is here in just a few minutes, but this is your weather maker right here. There's your midweek storm system. There's that difference, that gradient that I was talking about earlier, that boundary that's setting up right across the Midwest, and then we've got another low pressure system bringing some wet weather to the south this weekend. But I'm going to talk about the Midwest first. So let's talk about Thursday. Here's your significant hail model. Ooh, okay, it's lighting up here. We've got some yellows on the board, maybe a little bit of orange as well. Let's zoom down in. Let's see that one more time, zoomed into the Midwest here. These whiter colors, these milky white colors, this is going to be small hail, most likely smaller than the size of a quarter. When do we see that hail get larger? That comes in the late morning, 11 a.m., to early afternoon, 1 p.m. Watch this. Ooh, okay. So we've got some orange on the board now, just to the east of St. Louis in southern Illinois. I think one of the areas that I would watch for very closely tomorrow is Indianapolis. Central Indiana, we've got some larger hail on the board here. We're not saying it's going to be baseball size, but ping pong, golf balls, absolutely, I think that's possible. And that's pretty impressive for February. Now let's overlay that with the radar. Because I know you may be out in Cleveland saying, hey, we're going to get some large hail too, but where are the storms? There's no storms in this area. Maybe one tiny one, I'm not too concerned about that. Again, I'm watching for the state line of Illinois and Indiana. As these storms continue to move to the east into Indianapolis, that's when I'm watching for the largest hail. Now, what we want tomorrow, if we want to see hail, or what we would expect to see for hailers, are some of these more isolated storms. You want them to be away from this long line of storms because it can get very messy in this long line of storms. But if you can get those isolated, what we call discrete supercells, that's whenever you start to see those hailers. Let's go ahead a little bit into the afternoon and evening. Now here's the thing, I told you that it's going to be a very short timeline for hailers, right? Really, as we head into the evening hours, after your evening commute, that time goes down, that chance for hail goes down very significantly. Here we are at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Your hail risk is just about over by this point. We still have storms on the board. We've got a lot of storms, actually. You still have a tornado risk and a high wind risk at this point, but that hail risk will go down. Let's go ahead and talk about the hail risk, mainly anywhere from central to southern Illinois, all the way through central Indiana. I think that your most likely hailstone size will be anywhere from $0.50 to golf ball size hail. I do think that we could get up to golf ball size hail tomorrow. I've already highlighted Indianapolis. I think, again, that is what we're watching for tomorrow. Indianapolis will be that city that I'm really watching for, or at least this area, for larger hailstones. You go farther down to the south into places like Louisville, Kentucky. I do think that you could get some hail in Louisville, but I think it's going to be a little bit smaller. It's right on that edge, but probably a lot closer to quarter-size hail. As these storms continue to track to the east into the evening hours, places like Cincinnati and Columbus, you're going to get a lot of rain. You've got a tornado risk, you've got a high wind risk, but your hail risk is very low. So I hope that helps. We're going to talk about the wind and the tornado risk, but I want to make sure that I get to your questions as well. Do we have any questions on the board right now? Chipper has a great question. Has CAPE been increasing? This is actually what I'm getting to next. So let's go ahead and talk about CAPE. Max forecasted hail size, I've already talked about this, anywhere between golf ball to hen egg sized hail. Here's your wind forecast. You can see that level 2 wind risk highlighted there in dark blue. Some of those stronger winds, 75, maybe up to 80 miles an hour, anywhere from Indianapolis to Louisville and into Cincinnati. St. Louis, you're going to get some of those first few storms, the first few raindrops of the day, but those storms will be pretty isolated at this time. I think that you may miss out on the bulk of that severe weather. That's going to be farther to the east of you. Now here's what I was talking about earlier, your CAPE, your dew points, your moisture. Let's go ahead and talk about moisture here. So you've got this moisture that's surging up from the Gulf right now, right? That's happening right now. That was happening yesterday. It's getting in place for that boundary to move through tomorrow and set up that storm system for us. And you can start to see that boundary forming even as early as late tonight. Now, the big question is, how much moisture are we going to get? Will it come far enough north to where we need for those storms to be? I think that'll be the big question. How much will our moisture return be? And then there's your CAPE as well. I think I have CAPE next on the board. Yes, I do. It looks a lot more impressive than what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, if you watched this noon show, we saw maybe a little bit of blue, definitely no green yesterday. And now we're definitely starting to see some of those higher CAPE values moving into this area in a very similar timeline to what I told you just a few minutes ago for that hail. 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., that's when we're expecting storms to start. You can see that by 2 o'clock, we've got some decent CAPE, convective, available potential energy. So it's that energy that helps to fuel the storms. And then we continue to see that as we head into the evening hours, but shortly after 6 to 7 o'clock, that's whenever we start to see those CAPE values go down. Storms will continue to track to the east by this point, but the severity or the severe risk will decrease after about 7 o'clock. Here's your tornado risk. Indianapolis to Louisville also included in this tornado risk. So is the southern side of Illinois and just the far northern side of Kentucky. We are expecting several tornadoes for tomorrow. A potential outbreak is possible. Again, we have a level 2 tornado risk. We have that in the moderate zone highlighted there in yellow, just to the east of St. Louis through central Illinois, central Indiana, southern sides of those states, and then all the way down to the Kentucky state line. Any weather questions before I continue here? I want to make sure that I'm getting all of your weather questions answered. We've got one question. Happy Wednesday and welcome back from Macon, Georgia. Georgia could get rain this weekend, but you guys are clear for Thursday. Hello, HailTrace team. We appreciate you popping on Chipper today. Alex giving us the big muscles today. Thanks for popping on here, Alex. Hopefully you're in some areas that could see some storms. And then we've got Monica on here as well saying, Mama likes hail. You want me to tell her hi for you, Heather? Heather's behind the screen today, so Monica, we appreciate you jumping on here. Heather is producing today, and we appreciate you, Heather, for producing. Let's go through your severe weather risk. We're going to go day by day now. So here we are today. We can see a few storms out in the Four Corners. We've also got storms anywhere from Kentucky to Tennessee, which is what we're seeing right now. You're going to see a little bit of lightning, maybe a little bit of thunder with these storms. However, your severe risk is going to be really, really low. As we go to tomorrow, this is what the Storm Prediction Center has put out. So there's your level 2 severe risk highlighted there in yellow. We call that a slight risk. Marginal risk highlighted there in green. Great question here. Owensboro, Kentucky. This is a great question. I was just looking at Owensboro today. Let me go back to your hail risk because I'm sure that's what you're asking for. Okay, perfect. Well, and you're right by Louisville, right along the state line. So let's see if we could zoom down into that hail risk. Owensboro may have a better chance than Louisville. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Yeah, I would say that Owensboro has a better chance than Louisville just because you guys are farther back to the west. These storms that are closer to the Indiana and Illinois state line are going to have a better chance for hail tomorrow. It's going to be right in the middle of the day, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That'll be the timeline for hail. If you get any later than that, the storms are going to turn into more of a wind event. Still a tornado risk is possible, but that'll go down as we head into the late night hours. Your risk for nocturnal tornadoes tomorrow is pretty small. If we do see any tornadoes after the sun sets, they won't last for very long. But there's your hail risk right along the Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana state line. Let's see if we can get you a timeline, Owensboro. I don't know if we've done timeline yet. Have we gotten a timeline for anyone yet? Let's go ahead and get a timeline for everyone. All right, here you go. These are storms today. Not terribly impressive. A few flashes of lightning, rumbles of thunder. But for the most part, most of us will stay dry today except for some of those northernmost states that are going to get a decent amount of, decent amount of snow. Let's zoom down and let's talk about your storm timeline for tomorrow. So as I mentioned, storms are going to start back by St. Louis tomorrow. You're going to start to see them very, very isolated at first, anywhere from the mid-morning to late morning hours. Here we are at 11 o'clock just to the east of that Missouri state line. Storms will continue to be more widespread as we head into the early afternoon. We start out with 1, we go to 4, 5, 6 very, very quickly. Right along the Illinois-Indiana state line, I've said that over and over and over today. That's whenever we're expecting the better chance for hail. So here we are at 2:30 in the afternoon. We're expecting those hailers at this point to be firing. It's going to be a lot more widespread as we head into central Indiana. So we are watching for an all hazards risk at this point in the day. Tornado, hail, wind, all possible here. We're still watching for some of these southernmost storms to be our hailers here. But after about 4 or 5 o'clock, after your evening commute, that's when the hail risk goes down. So you can see right along that area where Owensboro is, that's where we're seeing, a few storms are possible. It may not be a total soaker for you. It's not going to rain the entire day. Better chances for storms will be in the early afternoon to early evening hours, but it's going to be done by the time you get home from work or by the time you're about to drive home from work. It's going to be a little bit more spotty down here and more widespread up into Indiana. You could see a second round. I'm not too worried about this second round, especially if all that moisture clears out with the first round. That second round is not going to be too impressive. But Chicago should get storms with that second round that's moving through. And then as we head into the late night hours, that's whenever we're going to see those storms really start to decrease with that severe weather risk. Especially whenever they're all clustered like this, they're not very organized. It's hard for them to rotate, and you need that rotation to get hail. So there's your radar. Any more questions before I move on? to temperatures. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for radar today. Heather, anything that we should answer?
We already showed like Ohio, Carroll, Ohio, which is near Columbus.
Columbus, Carroll area. Yeah, we can show it again, but yeah, you're right. We just showed that. But I can go back. I can go through this just one more time so you guys can see it again. This is probably one of the most impressive severe weather risks that we've gotten in February for this area so far. So in the Midwest, I mean, have you seen a ton of severe weather in this area? No, not really. You're going to see severe weather tomorrow. Here you go. Storms start in St. Louis in the mid to late morning hours. They continue right along the state line from Illinois to Indiana as we head into the afternoon hours. Cincinnati, it's totally rocked by storms by about 3 to 4 o'clock. If these storms linger for too long, this will impact your evening commute, so we'll keep an eye on that tomorrow as well. You could get 2 rounds here that could linger into the evening hours, but pretty soon that severe risk will go down. As the sun goes down, so does that severe weather risk as we head into the late night hours. There you go, there's your recap. All right, let's go ahead and move on to temperatures here. 5-day rain chances. Yeah, I'll go back to this map here. I'll show you, we are expecting some wet weather from this low pressure system that's moving down to the south over the weekend. But again, you can see that we've got a little bit of rain. We've got some moisture that's trying to move up into Kansas as well. But if we show you your 5-day rain chances here, or rainfall totals, there's not a ton of rain associated with this. There's just not a ton of moisture associated with this low pressure system. So while you could get a little bit of snow up in places like Kansas, the bulk of that rain is going to be farther down to the southeast into places like Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. There's a little recap of what we're seeing over the next few days. Low pressure system with that midweek storm system. Then you've got a third low pressure system moving through this weekend, but it's disorganized, it's pretty weak, it's just not terribly impressive. After that, very important for next week, by Sunday and Monday, this high pressure system completely takes over. This is going to be your weather story next week. Monday, it's going to be warm, it's going to be breezy. Unfortunately, those fire conditions will return on Monday, if not early on Sunday. It's going to be warmer, it's going to kill all chances for severe weather. This high pressure system is going to kill all chances for severe weather. So we're not expecting any severe weather early next week, however that could change as we head into the mid to late week. Into late February, we're watching for a significant storm system already in late February and early March. Until then, it stays warm. We get a brief cool down later on this week, but then we see those temperatures warm right back up by Monday and Tuesday. That's whenever your high pressure system sets in. So it's going to be a pretty warm February overall. Let's take a look at the 23rd through the 27th here. Temperatures are above average for this time of the year. Temperatures will be not in the 90s. I know you see this red and you think, oh, it's going to be 90 degrees. It's going to be above average for your area. So if your average this time of the year is 55, we could see 62. It's just going to be a little bit warmer than what we normally see this time of the year, very consistently warmer. And then you're going to see better chances for rain and snow farther up to the north and drier conditions down to the south. Again, not helping with that fire risk that we're already seeing in the south. Hey, if you have not been to the Raising Hail Tour, we would love to see you in Denver and Minneapolis. We have 2 stops left on the Raising Hail Tour. We're officially over halfway done. Yesterday we were in Chicago. It was a great event yesterday in Chicago. We were so happy to see everyone in the Chicagoland area. Now what we saw yesterday was we had Todd Stern, Orlo Training, talk about weather forensics and how to document your hail and wind and ice damage properly. We had Daily and Black talk about when you need to bring lawyers into your claims situation. And then of course we had Atlas talk about the new shingles that they have for this year. We also had Derek, the big draw for the Raising Hail Tour is that hail forecast. Derek talked about what we're expecting for the 2026 severe weather season. Obviously we're seeing it kick off a little bit early this year. Will that continue? We've got one system this week. Will we have another one next week? Will we have another one the week after that? How consistent will this be? Or will it be more of a late season event this year? Will it be more active later in the season? There you go. You can see all of that at the Raising Hail Tour, so get your tickets at raising-hail-tour.com. And in the meantime, make sure you follow us on all things social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We're also on Threads and LinkedIn. Make sure you follow us for more weather updates as well. I'm very active on social media, so I make sure that the second that we have more information to share with you guys, you know about it. If you want to go back and look at our radar, DM us. We can send that to you or post that as well. We're pretty good about getting back to you guys on social media. And if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. Head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information. Go ahead and get those hail maps now so that whenever storms hit tonight, you're prepared for them. You can see our meteorologists map in almost real time as those storms are hitting. They map in the room that is literally like 10 feet away from me. So oftentimes we'll be going live while they're mapping and we'll talk about it. But you can always get those hail maps at hailtrace.com or email us for more information on how to get subscribed. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we'll see you back here, same time, same place,